Hi everybody, welcome back to another video. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the paper that I recently posted on my Facebook page as well as on our Temple of Universal Truth page, which is on Facebook, and it's about the program, the Ultimate Ego program called I Am. As I'm doing it in the video as well because a lot of the people who watch the video don't have access or don't go to the Facebook pages, and then there are a lot of people who would prefer to listen versus reading something for themselves. So I'm going to kind of go through the paper, reading parts of it, and kind of filling in it as I go along. So the information in this paper, it may shock a few people and make this a few people off, because it's going to go against what is a traditional school of thought, in that each of us is a separate individual and eternal soul. As I start to go through this, your immediate reaction to what I said, or as I go through this paper, is that I'm wrong. Well, then you might want to take a step back and feel where that reaction came from, and ask why you reacted that way. And if you're honest in doing so, you may very well prove the point of my paper. So let's get into it now. The I Am program is the belief or wanting to accept the idea that each of us have or are our own individual eternal soul. That each of us are separate eternal beings having our own experiences along with our own universes. That we are co-creators, only in the sense that we come together to co-create experiences for our realities and different universes, dimensions, and so on, and that once that's done, we go back to being separate eternal beings, and that we are even while we're there. Now, if you've read some of my papers or watched some of the videos where I talk about the ego and what it is, especially the last one I did in reference to the voices that are in our heads and what they are, you'll have an understanding that the main goal of the ego, at least our ego side of this duality of reality, is to be, or at least to believe, that it is eternal. It's the ego that willingly accepts religions and their promises of an eternal life as the you that you know and love so much. They always tell you you're going to have the perfect body and perfect health and so on, but it's always going to be an awareness of being you. Whether you go to heaven or hell, it's still going to be you. And they accept that each of us are separate beings with souls and will continue that way eternally. The more awakened are those, I guess, the metaphysical side, who, even though they have moved past the basic religious concepts of external gods and heaven and hell, still accept the idea that each of us is and will always be a separate eternal soul. And some believe accept that we are all one on some level, but still accept that even at that point of oneness, that we still have a separate awareness of self. They always want to maintain their identity of self, no matter what other program they accept or where they're going to be. It's that ego desire to be one, to be itself, not oneness with others, but an individual awareness. So if you think about this idea, and you step outside of your ego for a moment, you'll realize that it's still the ego wanting to believe its sense of I, will be and exist eternally. It can accept being part of something bigger like the co-creation at times, but it still has to feel it has its own separate existence or identity. The ego wasn't created to accept that at some point it may very well become we, as in no sense of separation or awareness, or being anything other than one. That idea goes against the very nature of our ego, which has to see itself as separate, existing only for itself. And does a drop of water in the ocean see itself as separate, independent from the other drops while it's in the ocean, or is it simply existing as a part of the whole, unaware that it is an individual? And does it only become aware of itself after it's removed from the ocean? That's something for you to think about. See, we are given a sense of self-separation, a sense of self-separation at the point of creation. So nothing could experience itself to the fullest in all the roles and experiences of a thought. If we didn't think we were separate beings in and beyond this reality, we couldn't accept and experience all the roles and possibilities to their fullest. That sense of separation gives us full buy-in to the reality. When you think about it, you think you are you just as much as I think I am me, or I used to. and as everyone else thinks that they are themselves and an individual. So it's just part of what that program is as it goes through. And we can look at it this way as kind of an analogy. You imagine that you wrote a screenplay, and then you decided to produce, direct, and act in a movie so that you could physically feel what each character would feel they would be as they played out their roles. Now, you could have hired other actors to play all the roles, and you could just be the observer. But it would be the difference between watching someone build a house you designed and actually building that house yourself. You can look at the idea that with the movie thing, and that's essentially what the creator did, is it created the movie, the play, the life, all it is, and all the roles and everything is going to happen. It really has 3 different ways it can do it. As I said, it can hire other people, bring in other souls, so to speak, to play all the roles and to just be an observer, and it may feel some through them, but it's not going to get the real essence of that experience. It could play one role in the universe, which is what most of the current metaphysical people believe, is that they are playing a role within their universe and everyone else is coming in here to help them co-create. But again, the being is only going to get the awareness of the role it's playing at the time. It's not going to really have much of a sense of the other roles and the others, what they're going through physically, emotionally, spiritually, their feelings, because it's not them. Or it can take itself and divide itself and become all of those roles simultaneously, thus actually getting the full experience of the play it wrote, the house it's building. And that's in essence what nothing did when it had thought and became source. So those who think we come to each other's universe and play a role for them, co-creating, they're not allowing the creator of that universe or the screenplay to fully experience their universe or the roles that they created. As I said before, they would have to experience every role in there if they really wanted to do it, and if they did it one at a time, that would mean everyone else is here constantly, consistently. And if you look at the idea of supposedly 7 billion people in this reality, you look at the concept of dimensions and other worlds, and just so much out there that if, as a creator, it played one role at a time within each universe or each timeline that we're going to have, it just would be such a long, drawn-out process. So just think about it, as I said in the movie, same thing as building that house. When you decide to design a house, and then you want to, instead of hiring other people to go build that house for you while you sit back and watch, you maybe decide to go play the role as a plumber. Well, you're going to understand that experience and get all that, but you're not going to get the rest of the place. You're not going to understand what the carpenter is doing. You're not going to understand what the electrician is doing. You're just not going to be able to feel those type of roles. So you divide yourself so that you can play all those roles simultaneously and get the full experience of that. And that way you are not co-creating in that sense, because this is the important part here, that everyone in your universe, everyone that's operating in your screenplay, everyone that's helping you to build the house, is an aspect of the same soul, because there is nothing outside of the creator, and we are the creator. So what it's essentially telling you is that there is no one else here from other universes coming in to help you, to assist you. It is all you. Everyone in this reality, everyone that you are dealing with, experiencing within this universe, is an aspect of the creator, of which you are the aspect of the creator, and which you are the creator. So it's the concept that we are one. We're really one on all levels, even here. And it's the idea that the Kabbalists look at that point, and they're one of the few groups that do that, is to look at the idea that there is nothing outside of the creator, which is the truth, and that everyone here is an aspect of the same. They look at it as Adam came, divided himself into 600,000 souls, and each of those divided and so on to create all the roles and experiences. And that's what happened, maybe not exactly as they're portraying it, but I'll get more into that as I get into here. There are a lot of people who are awakened, and they accept they must play every role within the universe to fully experience it. but they believe you play these roles one at a time, which is what I had mentioned, and everyone else is playing other roles for you. They're co-creating, other souls are coming in to help you. And as I said, when you start thinking about what could be involved in all that, how drawn out and long that would be, it doesn't make any sense in that respect. So they are correct in that they do have to play every role, but what they're missing, because they want to still exist independently of everything else, is that they're playing all the roles at the same time, and that the others they think are co-creating with them are actually other aspects thinking they are independent beings, so they can fully experience the roles that they are in. And it's what the ego program, I Am, makes them think. It makes each of us think we're individuals, we're separate, so that we can fully experience and get everything out of the role that we're playing. Since you wrote the screenplay, you already know the characters and what happens to each of them, but it's without the feelings and emotions of experiencing or acting out those roles. In order to make the roles seem realer, the experience deeper, you make your aspects forget that they wrote the play and they know the script, so they won't know what's coming next or what experience each decision will create. You have other aspects of yourself that still remember who and what they are or you are, and they take over the directing and producing of the movie, the life, to keep the actors on track without them having to learn what the next scene is, what the next script is going to be. So the producer or director could be called our spirit guide, and it's also what I call our subconscious. They, it, and we are all aspects of the same soul creator. At the point of nothing, we have no sense of awareness or separation because there is no creation. Yet the power to create creation, along with a sense of separation to experience that creation, still exists. So yes, the energy to create creation is eternal. So in that sense, so are we. Except there is no I, we, or us at that point. We gain a sense of self-separation when Source was created, which is what happened when nothing had a thought, and all the roles and aspects of Source that would be required for the experience were created at that moment. And I've talked about that in some of the other videos about that point of creation. Source, which is energy, light, and vibration, is what nothing became when it experienced itself. It had a thought. Nothing had to define something else, Source, in order to define or experience itself. And I have other papers going into more details on that, so I'm not going to go too deep into that at this point. There's other ones you can watch. The bottom line is that in order to fully experience a creation, a sense of separation had to be created between everything. You can't have an experience unless you feel there's a sense of separation between what is you and that experience, that you are having an experience. And when nothing had a thought and became Source, that created a point of reference, something that it could differentiate itself from in order to be able to have an experience. So just like without duality, there is no sense, there's no sense of existing. It's, remember duality, you have to have something to compare against something in order to know that something exists. That's what the duality concept here, that's why we have that duality. So this is what the ego side of duality was created for, to project and accept the illusion of separation. So an experience here could be fully accepted and had. The spirit side, the other side of our reality duality, was created so we would have a path, a connection, to understand we exist beyond the ego. This ego program in no way rules out the idea that we may or will shift our awareness from body to body, life to life, reality to reality, dimension to dimension, or universe to universe, because we are experiencing it all. As I said before, you think you are you just as much as I think I am me, and that's our separation program. And since we are aspects of the same soul, who and what we shift to will believe they are just as real as we think we are. It's really all about awareness, and that is really all we are, is awareness. On my journeys outside of Ron, including the one back to nothing, there was always an awareness of being. And when I was in other bodies, that I've had those experiences where I've shifted through other bodies, I thought they were me just as much as I thought Ron was. And when I had my aspect exchange, the aspect coming into Ron knew it wasn't Ron or a body, but it had an awareness of being all the same. Now, as I mentioned earlier about the awareness when I went to the point of nothing, at that point, yes, there was an awareness of being, and I realized and I understand that I was not nothing at that point because there would be no awareness. But I couldn't understand or experience what nothing was without having an awareness of understanding and experiencing it. And it's maybe a little confusing, but I knew what the point of nothing was without being at the point of nothing, yet I was at the point of nothing. So yes, thinking we are all separate eternal souls is an ego program. Does it really matter if you or what you think is you is eternal? If it does, ask yourself why it matters. Do you fear not existing? If so, what part of you would fear not existing? And if at some point you return to nothing and cease to be aware of you as you, would you even be aware of it? Okay, thank you everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.